Let's chant the invocation prayers together. Nana Shastra Vicharanaik Nipuno Sadharma Sanstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandhe Namataliko Vandhe Rupa Sanatano Raghuyugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. Prabhu, you can read.
Namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Dasa Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing, studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of gopis, and they are engaged in the transcendental service of Radha and Krishna.
Shri Rupa Goswami ki Jai. Okay, so some encouraging words from our founder Acharya, why we should read Nectar of Instruction. Mataji, you can read.
We have published this book, Nectar of Instruction. Have you seen? That is Rupa Goswami. All these instructions are there. Read it very carefully. Everything is there.
Okay, so something to remember from the previous verse. Something to remember from the previous class. Hare Krishna Prabhu from US. Haribol. Okay, something to remember from the previous class. What did we discuss? About the 6 urges, okay. Atonement was in the class previous to that. We discussed about the 6 urges. So what about the 6 urges? They are nice things to have in Krishna consciousness. No. No, you have to control the 6 urges. Yeah, you have to control the 6 urges, okay. What else did we study?
If you control the 6 urges, you can make disciples all over the world.
Yeah, if we control the 6 urges, we can make disciples all over the world. Okay. So what else?
There is 2 commentaries. One is Nectar of Instruction by Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And Upadesha, the Anuvritti by Bhaktisiddhanta.
Yes, okay.
So the 6 urges described by Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur is classified into 3 urges of the body, mind and speech.
Okay.
Body is divided into tongue, genetics.
Yeah. Okay, so we still had one unfinished business from the last week, which was the genitals. We didn't discuss it so much last week. So as usual, we'll just take turns to read. So Mataji will read, and then we'll continue from there. Okay.
Many such Krishna conscious children are required, and one who is capable of bringing forth Krishna conscious offspring is allowed to utilize his genitals.
Yeah, this is the best way to control the urge of the genitals, that one just uses it to produce Krishna conscious offsprings. If not, please continue, Prabhu.
Or job genitals, unworthy. Otherwise, he may adopt many artificial means to satisfy the demands of the genitals, and he may not use any restraint.
Okay, this is something which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying at that time. Okay, and we can see today in Kali Yuga that this statement is so much true. That because the sex impulse is not used properly, then what happens? Then we have a whole range of problems which comes. Now we have big issues with people wanting to be homosexuals and that and this, and they want to claim rights. They want man to marry man, woman to marry woman, and then they want the marriage to be as sanctioned, and so much disturbance in the society, just because what happens that one does not use the urge of the genitals in the proper direction. So, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that one may adopt many artificial means And these are some practical artificial means which a society is adopting. And this is becoming a problem, and it is becoming a big problem. Before it was, it used to be whispered here and there, but now it is such a big problem. People are talking about it, and so much disturbance is going on. Okay, Prabhu?
Urge of the genitals from other people. When one indulges in illicit sex life, as defined by the Shastras, either by thinking, planning, talking about, or actually having sexual intercourse, or by satisfying the genitals by artificial means, he is caught in the clutches of Maya.
So somewhere in this quote, something is underlined. What is underlined? Yeah, so illicit sex is not as per the definition of illicit sex is not as per our convenience. It is not as per popular opinion. Nowadays, because we are all in a democratic setup, we want everything to be as per popular opinion. Okay? But definition of illicit sex is not as per popular opinion. It is not as per some convenience. Okay? But it is as per as defined in the Shastra. And according to our Shastra, if a man and woman get married, okay, then in what circumstance they could be separated? I'm touching a controversial topic, okay. If a man and woman get married, in what circumstance they could get separated?
For sannyas time.
Yes, a man can be separated from his wife during sannyasa. Okay? The other circumstance? Death. In one sense, both are same. Because a sannyasi is a civil dead man. When you take sannyasa, then you are declared dead as per the civil world. Okay, this is how you take sannyasa. Okay, so the simple process of marriage involves three things. It involves chanting mantras, okay, taking vows, okay, and then having celestial witnesses. And then by the process of marriage, a bond of karma is formed. And this bond of karma can be reversed only by the same process. What is that process? Chanting mantra, taking vows, and having celestial witnesses. So when a man or a woman dies, then these things happen. Okay? Yeah.
I didn't follow bonding of karma.
Bonding of karma means the karma of the man and woman, they get bound with each other at the time of marriage.
Sufferings are for good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's a bond of karma. Their karmas intermingle. That is why at one of the samskar of marriage is that the man eats, and then the newly married wife, she is asked to eat from the same plate that she has the uchishta. And by having the uchishta, then both their karmas get mingled. Okay? So that's why one should be very careful in taking uchishta. Okay? It's not something that you can eat anybody's this thing. Because in ISKCON sometimes we have this kind of habits that we want to take and eat from anybody's plate, and we think, oh, this is great, I am getting somebody's Mahaprasad. Yeah, it is great, getting somebody's Mahaprasad. But at the same time, you are also getting his karma, because you have to be very careful. So the point is that whose remnants one can take? One can take the remnants of a pure devotee. Not necessarily only spiritual master, but he should be a proper, confirmed, pure devotee, not another practitioner. You didn't take the remnants of another sadhaka. You should be very careful. What you honor. Because when you take remnants of someone, you also partake his karma. Okay? So best is that you take the remnants of spiritual master, you take the remnants of the God brothers of spiritual master or some other spiritual masters. Okay, like that. So be very careful. Okay? Sometimes in ISKCON we are not so careful about these things. Okay? We just are very loose. And then we think it is fine, it's all right. Okay? It's not so much all right. Okay, so let's come back to the point that, okay, so sannyas or death. Okay? This is where one can undo the bond of marriage according to Shastra. Okay? So if this is the only method to undo the bond of marriage according to Shastra, then what about this?
That's for legal. According to Vedas, there is no concept of divorce.
Yeah. Which means that if one gets divorced and married, then
But it's not certified.
yeah, you have to be careful. If one gets divorced and married, one gets into the realm of illicit sex. Okay, one should be very careful.
But how is
Oh.
illicit sex though? Like,
Because it is not sanctioned by the Shastra. For a man, it is sanctioned that he can have more than one wife, provided he treats all of them equally. Otherwise, he gets sin. So this is not, even for a man to take more than one woman is not so easy. It is not that Shastra allows a man to marry multiple girls. No, yes, it allows, but it allows with a condition. And anyway, Prabhupada said that we should not marry more than one woman. He tried this initially, and then he found that the men are not qualified to take more than one wife. So he said that take one wife, that's it, no more. So we already have our founder Acharya's instruction on this, that a person should get married only once. Okay. For a man, it becomes sinful. Okay, to get divorced and get married again, because he is actually abandoning his first wife. Okay, or the wife he has divorced. For a woman, it becomes illicit sex.
So, now, this is not my age, but if somebody walks into my life, a girl walks into my life with lot of bad karma, so is that my karma?
Yeah. Yeah. You can always take sannyas. No one is stopping anybody from taking sannyas. Of course, in ISKCON, of course, to get sannyas, you have to get your wife's permission. I hope you know all these things. That sannyas ministry is mandated that a grahastha has to take sannyas, then he has to take signature of his wife. So anyone has idea that he will run away in the midnight and take sannyas, it is not in ISKCON. So if one wants to take sannyas, one has to please his wife properly, so that she signs at the right moment. I'm joking.
There are 4 types of illicit sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think 8 types actually.
Yeah, also, thinking about it and so many different types of illicit sex, okay? So, the point is that I brought this topic because we should be aware, because the next generation, these things are becoming common, okay? And because this is also common within the devotee community, that divorces are becoming common within the devotee community, so then there is a parampara to follow. We say that evam parampara praptam imam divorce viduhu. No, sorry. So we should know very clearly that divorce is not it's actually illicit. Okay, so we should not have these ideas that we may not divorce, but we should not have these ideas that it's okay. And we also should not have this idea that a bond of karma could be broken by human court. We cannot have this idea, that we should not have this kind of idea, that marriage is a bond of karma. It is beyond even human courts to intervene and then give a piece of paper and then say it's over. No, it's not over. So we should be careful. Yes, Madhuri?
Like this is divorce case.
Yeah.
In case if the husband or wife is died and they get married second.
Yeah, fine, no problem. Death is fine. I said death is fine. Is there? Death is a proper separation. Because in the process of performing different samskaras after death, we do these things, that we break the karma bandhana. There are mantras chanted to break the karma bandhana. And then normally in many places we also have cutting of the pinda. The cutting of the pinda simply means that you cut off the bond of karma. So then you say that okay, you go and stay with the Pitrus, and then if you call you come, you just give blessing and run away. That's it. Okay? And for us even that is not there. Especially if you die in Dham, just go to Ganga, burn the body, throw Ganga water and come back. Hare Krishna. That's it. Okay? It's okay? Clear? Okay. So, while concluding on the discussion of the urges, Prabhupada quotes one beautiful shloka. In the end of the purport, Prahlad Maharaj Siksha. So someone can read the translation. Who is next online? Oh, you don't have a book. Okay. So, yeah, please, Prabhu, can you read the translation of that shloka? Because there is a very powerful take-home message there.
For those who have decided to continue their existence in this material world for the gratification of their senses, there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious, not by personal endeavor, by instruction from other, or by joint conferences. They are dragged by the unbridled senses into the darkest region of ignorance, and thus they madly engage in what is called achieving the Shiv.
It's a very nice shloka. Maybe most of us know this shloka, but there is a very strong take-home message in this shloka. That if we don't control our urges, there is no chance of us becoming Krishna conscious in spite of being in the association of devotees. Because normally we have this idea that association of devotees is very powerful. So if we are in the association of devotees, then we can become Krishna conscious. And this is assured. No. There is a rider clause to this. And this is the rider clause. What is the rider clause? That unless one actively tries to control his urges, even though he is in the association of devotees, even though if one tries to become Krishna conscious by other methods on his own, still there is no chance of a person becoming Krishna conscious. So it is so important for us to tolerate these 6 urges, because that if we don't tolerate these 6 urges, our very Krishna consciousness is under stake. So that's why Prabhupada ends this whole explanation on the urges with this strong purport, with this strong shloka, which actually says, can I have the book, Prabhu? So it says that there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious. And then it clarifies that by what all ways, even if you try, there is no chance. The first is not by personal endeavor. Even if we try on our own so much without controlling the urges, still there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious. Okay? Not by the instructions of the others. That we accept a spiritual master, and then the spiritual master gives his instruction. Okay? And even if you have received the instruction of the spiritual master, if you don't control the urges, there is no chance of us becoming Krishna conscious. By joint conferences, which means that being in association of devotees, attending seminars, doing whatever, okay? But still, there is no chance for a person to become Krishna conscious. It's not that his Krishna consciousness will get delayed. It's not like that. A person will become Krishna conscious after millions of lifetimes. No. What it says, there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious. So one should be very careful. From the first shloka of Nectar of Instruction, that we have a formidable challenge to overcome in terms of controlling the urges. Okay? So another thing which I wanted to point out was that the shloka talks about what? Controlling the urges, which means that as long as this material body is there, these urges will be there. Okay? So one should not think that the urges will not be there. Okay? These urges will be there, but they have to be controlled. Okay? So we are moving from the verse number 1, and then we are moving to verse number 2. Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Regarding Uchishta,
Yeah.
sometimes we take with leftover from kids. They are
Anyway, your karma is already joined with the kids, so no problem. Husband, wife, children, up to 5 years, no problem. If the child is more than 5 years, then you should not take his uchishta. Because after 5 years, the child has its own karma. Up to 5 years, it is fine. The moment the child grows above 5, then he should be trained, or he or she should be trained to finish his plate. Okay? And after 5 years, we also should not give our uchishta to the children. We should not give our remnants to the children. We should finish our plate, they should finish their plate. That's why for children, it's better to serve them small portions, what they can eat, and if they want more, they should be given more. And if they ask for more, we should make sure that they finish the plate. Because sometimes children are just greedy. Okay? They just want more on their plate, but they cannot eat it. Okay? Then best way is ask them to finish and get up. Even if it takes half day. Just do it once, next time the child will not ask for more. Very simple. So we should not do this as automatic things. Up to the age of 5, it is fine. After the age of 5, we should be careful, because the child start getting his own karma. It's okay? Okay, we are moving into verse number 2. Okay, the verse number 2 deals with the 6 obstacles. So let us chant the verse and the translation. Let's chant the verse together. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. So Prabhu, can you read the translation?
Once a devotional service is falling, steadily becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. Number 1, eating more than necessity or collecting more funds than necessary. Number 2, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Number 3, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them. And not intelligence are understood. And number 6, being greedy for mundane food.
Okay, so these are the 6 items which actually destroys one's devotional service. Okay, so in the beginning of this purport, Prabhupada discusses about 2 type of people. They are the Mahatma and the Duratma. So the question is that when we are talking about 6 type of things which are actually which are actually obstacles to bhakti, why does Prabhupada talk about Mahatma and Duratma?
Mahatma is controlled by the internal sense.
Okay.
Duratma is controlled by the external items.
Okay.
And the Jivatma is in between.
No, either we are Mahatma or Duratma. We are not somewhere in between. Okay, fine. What else? Why does Prabhupada talk about Mahatmas and Duratmas in the beginning of this purport? Okay, let me ask this question. Please, yeah.
Mahatma is Goswami.
Yeah.
And he both us.
Yes. Okay, so let me ask this question. The previous verse was about
Controlling.
6 urges, okay? And these 6 urges are related to the senses and the mind, okay? And this verse is about the 6 obstacles, and they are also related to the
Controlling the
senses and the mind. So why is Rupa Goswami taking 2 verses to talk about senses and the mind? What is the difference between the previous verse and this verse?
It is actually really practicing. As
This is related
This is
to the
related to
activities, day-to-day activities.
Yeah, the urges are also related to day-to-day activities.
the obstacles that we might face in controlling the
Even urges are also same thing. They are also the obstacles which we might face. So what is the difference in both?
these are the objects of senses.
Oh, both urges also are from object of senses. The same formula, dhyayato vishyan pumsaha sangaste sobhajayate. So what is the essential difference?
This first urge is for personal and the second one is related to others.
No, both are same. If you see a woman and get an urge, then it is related to others. The essential difference is that urges are not planned. They just come suddenly. Okay, there is no plan. You don't you don't plan to become victim of the urges. Okay, there is a situation which demands certain urge to overtake you, and then you become victim of that urge. But these 6 activities which are explained in the second shloka are planned activities. You plan your life to follow these 6 activities. One plans to work overtime. Right? Yes or no?
Yes.
One plans to work overtime so that I can get more money. One plans to accumulate 1 house, 2 house, 3 house, 4 house. It doesn't happen by urge. It happens by a plan. Okay? One plans to over-endeavor. Right? And that plan starts from the time we are children. There's a whole plan to over-endeavor. We tell our child, okay, you are going to school, coming back, very good, but now you go to 10 tuitions. There's a whole plan to over-endeavor. Right? And there is a whole plan to sit and talk useless matter. It is a $1 billion industry. Prajalpa today is a $1 billion industry. All this Facebook, WhatsApp, that social media, this social media, it's all a $1 billion industry. So there's a whole plan behind useless talk. There is a whole plan to form different rules and regulations for running the society, which are useless in Krishna consciousness. There is a whole plan to get people together. You plan to go to a party. Right? You plan to go to a party. You plan to hold a festival. You plan to do these things. There's a big plan behind this. And our greed is driven by an intelligent plan. How to satisfy our greed? There's a whole intelligent plan to satisfy our greed. Yes or no? So this is all planned items. So whenever a man plans these 6 items, man or woman, they plan these 6 items and firmly take shelter of Maya, because the plan for these 6 items means that one is taking shelter of Maya. When one plans to accumulate lot of material facilities, one is taking shelter of Maya. When one plans prayasa, to over endeavor, one is taking shelter of Maya. So like this, all these 6 items, when one plans to incorporate them in his life, he actually firmly takes shelter of Maya, and he is called as Duratma, because he has taken shelter of the external energy of the Lord. While a Mahatma, he actually plans his life in such a way that he avoids taking this shelter of the external energy. That's the reason why Rupa Goswami is saying that these planned activities, these 6 planned activities, when they become part of a devotee's life, then what happens to devotion? Once devotion is spoiled. Once devotion gets spoiled, when one starts incorporating these plans in his life. So this is a twofold approach from the first shloka to the second shloka. The first shloka says that you have no chance of becoming Krishna conscious if you don't control your urges. Okay? So one takes a lot of effort to control their urges, and then one tries to become Krishna conscious. And then one makes some progress in Krishna consciousness. And that progress, it gets spoiled when one incorporates these plans which are actually following these 6 items. It's clear how it works? Makes sense? Yeah? Okay. So what should be the guiding principle of one's life? The guiding principle of one's life should be, human life is meant for blind living and, so how is blind living possible? The blind living is possible by controlling one's urges and giving up the plan for these 6 items. Unless one does that, blind living is only theory. We can talk about all these things, simple living, high thinking. But unless one gives up the 6 faults and controls the 6 urges, blind living is not practical. We only end up with complex living and complicated thinking. So unless there is blind living, there is no question of high thinking. Because if there is no blind living, then there is no time for high thinking. I think fortunately I dealt with that in today's morning's class, that how it works, that why we don't have time. Okay. So, so plain living is not a choice if you want to indulge in high thinking. So normally then it requires a plan. That is why Prabhupada is talking in the beginning about Duratmas and Mahatmas. The default setting of all the people in the material world is that they are Duratmas. This is the default setting. Okay? So when we want to change that default setting and become Mahatma, then we should know practically what we should do. Okay? We don't become Mahatma by changing our dress. That yes, now we are Vaishnava clothes, we are Mahatma. Yeah, it's a good beginning. But the actual practical program to become Mahatma is to control one's urges and give up these 6 faults. This is the practical program to become Mahatma. So anyone who wants to become Mahatma, what he has to do? He has to give up tolerate the urges and give up these 6 faults in his life. Okay? And becoming Mahatma means taking shelter of and who is that? Yes. If you want to become servants of Radharani, then what we should do? We should take seriously the first 2 shlokas of Nectar of Instruction. We should take it very seriously. Because unless these 2 shlokas are taken seriously and implemented in our life, it is extremely difficult for us to achieve that goal that we want to become servants of Srimati Radharani. Okay? So any questions?
People like plain living and high thinking. They live in the plane and get high on liquor.
Plain living and high thinking. Yeah, this is plain living and high thinking, because when you travel on plane, then they serve you liquor. Okay, you drink and then become high. Yeah, plain living and high thinking. Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments, anything till now? It's okay. Okay, so we have a group exercise, then we'll do some group work. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to divide the class into 5 groups. Okay, so we'll divide the Prabhus into 4 groups. Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Sudarshan. Okay, so please chant. Jagannath,
Subhadra, Sudarshan, Subhadra.
This is the best way to find out who is sleeping and who is not sleeping. No, Jagannath. Baladev. He said Jagannath. Baladev. Okay, so all Jagannaths together, all Baladevs together, all Subhadras together, and all Sudarshans together. Okay, and Mataji's Radharani group. Okay, group 1, Jagannath. Group 2, Baladev. Group 3, Subhadra. And group 4 will be Radharani group. Okay, and group 5 is Sudarshan. You can use any medium. You can, if you want, you can present a skit. I think in mostly this is all important points and explanation of important points.
Defects and obstacles are same.
Yeah. analysis of these 6 defects in different ways. How they see, one of the striking things which comes out from the purport is that these 6 defects actually are not only like the defects which are affecting the Krishna consciousness of a person. These are disease of a society. Okay, and if a society is able to solve this disease, then the society will become completely peaceful. So this is one thing which comes from the purport. Prabhupada talks about the eternal dispute between the capitalist and the communist. So, and then the capitalists are saying that the communists are finished. And now if you see in the capitalistic countries, the communistic people are getting prominence. So there is this eternal dispute between the capitalist and communist. But this eternal dispute is solved by avoiding these 6 defects. Okay. So we can see that these 6 defects have profound effect on everything, on every sphere of our society or of our life, and it actually affects us personally in different ways. Not only Krishna conscious way, but also our regular normal life is also get affected. Not only devotees, non-devotees, everybody's life is affected by these 6 defects. So one has to be really very careful that what he is doing with his life with these 6 defects. Okay, and these 6 defects are the guiding principles of a materialistic society. Materialistic society values, the values of the materialistic society, they are actually built around these 6 defects. Their entire value system is built around these 6 defects. So when we say that their entire value system is built around these 6 defects, because we are also in that society, we have this risk that our value systems are also built around these 6 defects. So one has to become very aware that what is the effect, how far we are actually victims of these 6 defects. All our different plans for life has to be reviewed. Prabhupada gives a whole definition of dharma. Okay, it's a very beautiful definition which is quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam. That dharma is meant for liberation. Okay, so dharma is meant for liberation. Okay, it is not meant for facilities. It is not meant for facilities. But the nature of dharma is that if you perform dharma, what you will get? You will get facilities. This is the nature of dharma. That if you do some work, you have to get facilities. You may get more, you may get less, but you will get facilities. Okay? So then what to do with these facilities? They have to be used here. Okay? So if this becomes the focus, if Krishna consciousness becomes the focus of our life, okay, and if we start using all the facilities in Krishna consciousness, then we can find that there are many things with us which has no significance in increasing our Krishna consciousness. Okay? And whatever facilities which we have, and if those facilities, they don't have a significance in increasing our Krishna consciousness, then we are victims of atyahara. We may find somehow to use these facilities in Krishna consciousness. That's not the solution. The idea is that the facilities we have, if they are useful in increasing our Krishna consciousness or not. If they are not useful in increasing our Krishna consciousness, then we are victims of Atyahara. And if we still work to preserve and maintain those facilities, then what will happen? Prayasa. Prayasa. Directly. Okay? Then the result will be prayasa. So, Atyahara and prayasa are like twins. That they are like always with each other. That if you have one, it is difficult to avoid the other. Okay? And then we'll talk little bit about not talking, which is Prajalpa. So the different types of Prajalpa: useless talk, arguments. Arguments are Prajalpa. One should not try to get into an argument. Gossip. Debates. Nowadays, TVs are full of debates, or newspapers are full of debates. Okay, but this is all Prajalpa. This is all Prajalpa. Fault finding, unless you are authority. Speaking falsehood. Blaspheming. Worldly talk. So these all different types of Prajalpa which one can get into. Okay, and especially this part, debate. It can be very absorbing that one gets into a debate in different things, and it can spend more and more time debating different issues. But we should know that it is all Prajalpa. So who was reading?
Prajalpa means talking all nonsense. Suppose politics, what Mr. Nixon did yesterday, or what did he say. So what interest we have got in Mr. Nixon? We shall not waste our time talking this politics. That politics, this sociology, this cinema, this affair. No. Prajalpa means talking all nonsense. We have nothing to do with it. That is called Prajalpa. Unnecessary talking. Talking means decreasing your duration of life. Talking. So why should you decrease your life unnecessarily? Every moment you have to utilize, whether it is used for Krishna, this is sadhana. This is sadhana practice. Unnecessary talking, unnecessary making enemies. Unnecessarily, you are my subordinate. I am your master. Who is master? Everyone is subordinate to Krishna. Nobody is master. Why you talk unnecessarily?
So this Prabhupada's lecture about Prajalpa. Actually, when my son was in school, there was a lot of I think he was in fourth standard or something. So we didn't have a TV connection in our house, so there was no TV, and there was no TV program, nothing. I think it's common in devotees' house that they don't have a TV connection, and we don't have newspaper, we don't have all those things. Okay, so till about fourth standard, I think it was fine. And in fourth standard, my son got an assignment to write about a cricketer. They said that write about this so-and-so cricketer. Okay. So then my son came home and showed it to my wife. He said, I am supposed to write about this person. So my wife blew her top. And then she said, don't write about him. No need. And he said, no, they will call me stupid. If I don't write, then they will call me stupid. I'll get low mark in my assignment, what I should do. So this is the typical dilemma that we face as parents. Okay? That a modern society is filled with so much of Prajalpa that a parent has to take a call in educating their children, that what they can do. And we know that Prajalpa means Prajalpa means death. Prabhupada just said.
Yeah. Moving towards death.
Prajalpa means moving towards death. So this is one serious thing which parents, Krishna conscious parents should consider. It's a big topic, but I'm just giving a thought that what we should do. So today, yeah,
How did you come out of that situation?
I went to Mayapur.
About the sun.
Along with the family.
Writing about the cricketer.
Yeah, see, one thing is that me and my wife decided that we will not bother about what grades he gets. Okay? So if he gets low grades, it's fine with us. So we decided like that. Because we never thought or we never had a plan that he should become some doctor or engineer or someone like that. Okay? We just wanted him to be a devotee. So next question came that if we don't care for his low grades, then why he should be in the school at all? Okay? That's why I put him in Gurukul. Anyway, that's a different story. I'm not saying that everybody should put their children in Gurukul. But what I'm saying definitely is that a Krishna conscious Grahastha community should consider seriously about educating their children in alternate ways. Today morning I visited nice place, Madhav's school. Okay, I spent some time there. This could be a start to make a whole full-time school for the children. This is not something which need to be unusual. Okay, and there is also something called as homeschooling, which could be done. So we should think of various alternate ways of educating our children. It's not that everybody can go and put their child in Gurukul, or sometimes it's practical, sometimes it's not practical. But what should be clearly understood is that the amount of risk the children face when they go to normal schools or abnormal schools. Because these schools just build a value system around these 6 defects. Okay, so it should be something which we should be concerned about, because our children are our future, and we want them to grow as nice devotees. And we want them to grow as nice devotees. We cannot start their education on which is heavily based on these 6 defects. So this is something which we need to think about.
Only just I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Regarding this Gurukul
Yeah.
systems, it is very good, very nice. The kids will go and they develop their Krishna consciousness. But still I am talking about, for example, Bhaktivedanta Institute, school there. Still they are following the curriculum of materialism.
Yeah.
So what can be done in this curriculum? Because curriculum cannot be a separate one, because these kids, they are going to work outside.
So the point is that curriculum need not be changed, okay? But you need not write an essay about a cricketer if you have your own school.
But generally when I follow their books, full of brother, full. Because some of the chapters they are talking about Sachin Tendulkar. So this kind of things are there throughout.
We can have our own syllabus, sir.
But if you choose like O level and all, you can have your own syllabus. You can develop your own syllabus with O level system. And in open schooling, Mataji said.
We have some guidelines for them. Only the guidelines need to be followed. The syllabus we can have, mostly we have the freedom to do the syllabus. Guidelines we have. As per the guidelines, we can have our own syllabus.
Mataji, I want to ask whether, okay, they will go and then they will develop, they will go and study engineering college. Okay. In engineering college, suppose I will ask them to design a DC motor. Ultimately, what the DC motor...
That's not Prajalpa, no?
Related to his job.
Okay,
What is related to his job in the syllabus?
That is again a confusion, Mataji. Because when I talk about, anyhow it will be a project. It is going towards project. Because ultimately what they are going to do is that will be for the satisfaction of sense. Because suppose, for example, if you say, we are using this AC we are using, actually what happens, background what happens, it is, we are getting from a generator. The generator is consuming fuel, and fuel we are getting from ground, and we are actually polluting it. Okay, for example, So in that case, what we are teaching to a kid, how to design a generator.
So there are twofold answer to this, okay. One answer is that's why Prabhupada said that the Gurukula is the answer for the Krishna conscious kids. This is one answer, okay. But there's also one more answer to this, okay. So that the second answer is that you have a system which has minimum contamination, okay. The sense that you have a system which has minimum contamination, which means that, like Mataji said, that design the curriculums in a very Krishna conscious way and equip the children with enough Krishna consciousness and also the material knowledge, that even if he has to go outside in the world and then work with the material knowledge, but still his Krishna consciousness is intact, okay. Ultimately, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, this we have to understand, okay. This is a principle. We are talking, you raised a question of principle, okay. And I am saying that ultimately we have to understand this principle. What is the principle? Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. The principle is that if one takes to Krishna consciousness, if not today, tomorrow. If not tomorrow, day after tomorrow. If not day after tomorrow, next lifetime. If not next lifetime, after 10 lifetimes. If not after 10 lifetimes, after 100 lifetimes. One point that person will renounce the material world. Okay. This is the principle. The principle is that Krishna consciousness means renouncing the material world. This we should understand, and with this we should accept. Okay? And if we renounce ourselves, it becomes much easier. And if we don't, then Krishna will make sure that we renounce. Okay? Now, the point is that children, when they are born to Krishna conscious parents, then they are already done Krishna consciousness. They already done their Krishna consciousness. Okay? In that sense, they are more Krishna conscious than us, most of the time. So as parents, we have to understand this principle, that they will have an element of renunciation already built into them. Okay? So it is up to us to enhance that element of renunciation with proper Krishna consciousness. We should not be afraid of doing that. We should not think, oh my son, oh my daughter. Okay? We should not be afraid of doing that. The moment we give them that training which is proper in Krishna consciousness, we can see that they will fly in Krishna consciousness. And that's our opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. Many times. So we should be very intelligent in dealing with our children. We should not make them victim of these 6 defects. So it's a relevant question in that sense. Okay? So that's why I brought up this topic, that there's so much of prajalpa in the modern education. And Prabhupada called that as a slaughterhouse. He called modern schools as slaughterhouses, because there's so much of prajalpa, there's so much of atyahara, there's so much of prayasa, everything is there. You name it, you get it. Okay? So as parents, it's our responsibility that we protect our children's Krishna consciousness. So we should, it's a congregation, we should make plans how to do this. And you're already doing nice, you're doing so many things. Okay? But only thing is that there should be some serious discussion about this topic, how to do it, how we can achieve. Okay? Okay? So, Niyamagraha. So, Prabhu explained nicely the 2 meanings of Niyamagraha. Okay? So, what is Niyamagraha and how it is done? So we'll see that how Prabhupada practically demonstrated this principle of Niyamagraha in both ways. Okay. So who was reading? Okay, you can continue to read. Oh, sorry. One second.
How Srila Prabhupada practically demonstrated avoiding Niyamagraha. Crossed the ocean when sannyasi is forbidden to do.
Yeah, sannyasi should not, the rule is that the sannyasi should not cross the ocean. Okay, but Prabhupada broke this lower principle for a higher principle to preach.
Allowed woman to live as Brahmana in the temples unheard of a Vedic culture.
Prabhupada made this major adjustment that he allowed women in the temple because he saw that the boys came with girls. So he could not tell the boys, okay, dump the girls and come. So he just made this major adjustment. He said, okay, boys, brahmachari ashram, girls, brahmacharini ashram. Okay, very intelligent adjustment.
Conduction, vivaha,
Yeah, so sannyasi is not supposed to conduct marriage ceremony. But Prabhupada conducted marriage ceremony for his disciples for some time. But after when he saw that they are not serious about marriage, then what he did, he stopped. And he wrote very strongly that they should. In fact, Prabhupada wrote in one of the letters that marriage should be signed as a contract, because he thought that Western people, they actually understand contracts. So he said that marriage should be signed as a contract.
accepted Guru Puja in front of the deities.
Yeah, this is
Forbidden in Shastra.
Yeah, this is something else which Prabhupada did, which was extraordinary.
Send a devotee's own book, distribution in Karmi clothes. Accepted the title Prabhupada much to his god brothers Astonish and discipline.
So we can see that Prabhupada did many things that actually he intelligently sometimes used he did forego some rules for the benefit of preaching and Krishna consciousness. So there's a famous pastime of Mahaprabhu and Govinda, that Mahaprabhu was sleeping or taking rest after dancing in the Ratha Yatra, okay, and he was actually lying down in his chamber. He was blocking the entrance and he was lying down in the chamber, and his servant Govinda, he came, and his service was to massage Mahaprabhu while he's sleeping. Okay, so what Govinda did?
Like the on top.
Yeah, he put a chadar and then he just crossed over inside, and then he massaged Mahaprabhu, and then Mahaprabhu was still sleeping nicely. And then what he did? He just stayed there. Okay? And when Mahaprabhu got up after some time, so Mahaprabhu asked him, because normally when Mahaprabhu is sleeping, Govinda takes his prasadam. Okay? So Mahaprabhu asked him, hey, you didn't eat, you are sitting here. Then he said, no, you are sleeping, how could I cross you and go? I cannot cross you and go. So then Mahaprabhu asked him, like this? So how did you come inside first? Then Govinda said, I crossed you and came. Then Mahaprabhu said, hey, you cannot cross me and go, but you can cross me and come. What is this? Then Govinda explained the principle of breaking a higher principle or lower principle for a higher principle. What he said?
But I cannot break him, take care of my sins.
So he said that I can cross you for doing my service to you, and I can go to hell for that offense. He was not saying that because I did that for my service, I will not get punishment. He said that I have done it, and I know that I am going to get punished, and I am ready to go to hell for millions of years for doing this offense, because my service to you is more important to me than going to hell. But I cannot think of doing this offense just to satisfy my senses. Okay? Just that I should eat, for that reason I cannot think of doing this offense. Okay? So this is a classic example of the pastime of Niyamagraha. That how one should be strict in following, at the same time sometimes one has to break. So it is the same rule that one should not cross over a sleeping person. The same rule. One time this was broken, the other time it was strictly followed. Okay? So this is a classic, this pastime is a classic example of Niyamagraha and how it is followed and how it is broken. So can we adjust the rules and regulations according to time, place and circumstance? Somebody is saying yes, somebody is saying no. Can we adjust the time, place and rules according to time, place and circumstance?
Yes, if it is for a higher cause. Yes, if it is for a higher cause.
Yes.
We should be very careful. We should not decide that we can adjust our time according to time, place and circumstance, all the rules and regulations for higher purpose. Okay? We should not be so whimsical in doing this. Okay? We should be very careful. We should consult amongst ourselves all the different implications of doing some adjustment, and we should consult with higher authorities or spiritual masters, acharyas. We should consult with them. It should not be done so easily. Okay, this can be adjusted according to time, place and circumstance. No. Should be consulted properly. It should be done in a strong Vaishnava Sangha. And there should be consensus in doing that amongst intelligent devotees who are very mature in Krishna consciousness. And if the consensus is not there, then we should wait for the consensus to come. Not that we will decide by majority. Okay, majority of them think like this, so let's decide by majority. Prabhupada said democracy is demon crazy. So we should be careful. Okay, so we'll go to Janasangha. Because one should not accept, if you see in NOD, it is explained that one of the seva aparadha is that one should not be glorified in front of the deities. Okay, but Prabhupada accepted a whole puja in front of the deities because he thought that actually helped his devotees to connect to Krishna better. So he saw that as the devotee's requirement for progressing in Krishna consciousness. It's a very sweet pastime. It happened very nicely that Prabhupada went on a walk and then he came back and he sat on his Vyasasana, and then spontaneously his disciples offered him Guru Puja. That's the first time it was offered to him like that. Spontaneously they offered to him. He saw their spontaneous love in offering that Guru Puja to him, that he saw that it was actually conducive for their Krishna consciousness. So he just accepted it. Okay, there are different types of materialistic people. This is explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Mayavadi is an atheist. So why Mayavadis are clubbed with atheists?
Mayavadi thinks that the Lord's form is Maya. So he thinks that actually Lord is not existent. That's why he's saying.
Yeah. So Mayavadi says that there is no God, and the atheist also says there is no God. Only thing Mayavadi says that everybody is God. And the atheist says that I am God. Sense enjoyers. One should not associate with sense enjoyers. Okay. Friends of sense enjoyers. One should also not associate with friends of sense enjoyers. Friends of sense enjoyers is all that fan club and that and this and things like that. Sense enjoyers are all our different icons of the modern day. They're all sense enjoyers. Opposite sex. So it was women. Then I put in bracket opposite sex. I don't know, now I should put one more bracket same sex also. I'm confused.
Like chairperson, you can
Okay, again, womenizers, one who wants to think too much about sex, we should not associate with them. Pseudo-religionist, they look like religionists, but they are not. Okay, so we should not associate with them also. And foolish outcast, we should not associate with them also. Who is the most dangerous of this lot? No. Yes, he is the most dangerous of the lot because he looks like religionist.
He acts like one, but he's not.
Yeah, he acts like one, but he is not. So he is the most dangerous of the lot. Vedavada Ratha. They are called as Vedavada Rathas. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna calls them as Vedavada Ratha. Because these Vedavada Rathas, they seem as if they are actually strict followers of Vedavada. Okay? But they are doing it because they simply want sense gratification. So they are the most dangerous of this lot. We should be very careful about them. Okay. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about some special category of sense enjoyers who are practicing devotees. Sometimes we see that the practicing devotees are also sense enjoyers. Okay? So in the practicing devotees who are sense enjoyers, Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about two people who are sense enjoyers. They are one who includes Krishna in their sense enjoyment, and the second type is one who keeps Krishna as center of their sense enjoyment. I'll explain with an example. Okay? It's easier to understand. I like gulab jamun. Okay? So because I like gulab jamun, what I will do is that whenever I want to eat gulab jamun, I will make gulab jamun. Okay? And then because if I eat this gulab jamun without offering to Krishna, it is sinful, I will push it in front of Krishna and then tell him, purify this, I want to eat it. And then take it out and have a nice time with my gulab jamun. Who am I? I am including Krishna in my sense gratification. Okay? Then the next type of person is one who keeps Krishna at the center of sense gratification. So I like gulab jamun, okay? But I don't make gulab jamun when I want to make it, okay? But when I see gulab jamun is served in a feast, I cannot stop eating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till the person says no more gulab jamun for you. You understand the difference between both? That one person, the first person, he doesn't worry about anything. He wants gulab jamun, he just makes it. And then because it has to be offered to Krishna, he offers it to Krishna. The second person is little more controlled. Even though he likes gulab jamun, it's not that he keeps making gulab jamun. But when he actually sees gulab jamun, then he loses his control. As prasadam, of course. Not that he sees gulab jamun in Lala shop and then he eats it. The moment he sees gulab jamun in the feast, then he loses his control. Then he becomes so attached to eating gulab jamun that he will keep asking for one more from different people who serve. So you understand how it works? A person who includes Krishna in sense gratification, the other one who keeps Krishna in the center of sense gratification. Okay? You understand how it works? Okay. You can replace gulab jamun with anything you want.
Choice is coming, sir.
It could be anything else. Okay. So, who is better?
First one.
Both are equally difficult.
Both are bad.
Because one loses control the minute he sees, one doesn't have control, which means both are failing.
So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one should not take association from these two type of devotees. Okay. One should not take association from these two type of devotees. So that brings us to the point of what it means to give association and to take association. Before that, I'll take the question. Yeah.
If we belong to this category, how can we take association? I belong to this category, so how we can tell that we should not take association?
Prabhupada says in Nectar of Instruction purport that one should at least try to rise to the platform of Madhyamadikari. This is the duty of every devotee, that one should at least try to rise to the platform of Madhyamadikari, which means that one should first become Kanishtadikari. Wait for the discussion, it is going to come. Okay? What it means to be a Kanishtadikari, what it means to be a Madhyamadikari and things like that, we are going to discuss that. Okay? So, just to be fair, okay, all of us go through this stage. At one point we are this, and at one point we graduate to this, and then hopefully at one point we'll graduate out of these two situations. Okay? So if one is here, at least one should try to come here, so that one can get out of this situation. The whole Krishna conscious adventure is simply to move forward. One should keep moving forward. Okay? Prabhupada gave some nice example, nice analogy in Nectar of Devotion. He said that it is not unnatural that when a child is learning to walk, the child will fall down. Okay? But it is quite unnatural that the child will not get up and walk again and then eventually run. Right? We have seen this in our life when we raise children. Initially they have difficulty in walking and they fall down once or twice, but then after that they learn to walk and then they also run. So if our child doesn't walk, I'll give a better example. The child remains, we put the child in school. The child goes to KG1, okay? And then the child goes to KG2, whatever, called junior KG, senior KG, whatever, And then the child goes to grade 1, okay? And the child doesn't want to go to grade 2. What will happen at home? What will happen at home? Big riot, right? Child says, no, I don't want to go to grade 2. Very difficult. I am very happy chanting A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So nice. Why should I go to grade 2? Will we agree? So how can we say that we want to remain only in grade 1 in Krishna consciousness? It's not a problem that we are in grade 1, okay? But it's a problem definitely if you simply want to remain in grade 1. So the whole idea of doing all this discussion is that we should recognize what we are and we should move forward. Okay? So the point which I was telling is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one should not take association from these devotees. Okay? So
Actually, say, friends failed in the first standard.
yeah.
But I will say, I doing no, very good, I will be in second standard.
Yeah, but see, the point is that you say that you don't take association. That's why I'm going to explain what is giving association and taking association. Okay? So that brings us to this point that what is giving association and what is taking association. Okay? Taking association means that we get influenced by their values. Okay? Giving association means that we influence them with our values. This is called giving association and taking association. But that doesn't stop us from serving them. That answers your question. Okay? Every devotee who is a Vaishnava, whether he is a high class Vaishnava or he is just a starting level Vaishnava, every devotee should be served and respected. There is no doubt about this. Okay? Service and respect should be given to every devotee. But when it comes to giving association and taking association, one should be very careful whom we are giving association and whom we are taking association. It's okay? Make sense? Okay?
Could you please repeat giving association, taking association?
Giving association means that we influence them. Okay? By our values. Taking association means that we get influenced by their values. Normal social discourse where there is no influence is fine. Like for example, we may come in the association of devotees and then we may move with them. Okay? But as long as we are not influenced by them, it's fine. It's not that these Vaishnavas are to be, they should be stamped that no, now don't come into the temple. Not like that. Please don't mistake like that. Okay? Normal social discourse should happen between Vaishnavas. Okay? It should not that it should be stopped. But only thing is, one should not take association from them. Which means that one should not get influenced by them. Which is logical. It's not like, something which is very illogical or something like that. Okay?
So, sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Some people say that voluntarily we did not try to do all these things. If you just chant, keep on chanting, then you will gradually, from first standard, you will go to second standard, second to third, or you can voluntarily try also. People say 99% the attachment is on chanting, so don't externally enter and do too much, otherwise you will become ritualistic. So keep on doing chanting, chanting will automatically raise your...
See, actually, in Prayers to Queen Kunti book, Prabhupada makes a very important point. Okay, Prabhupada says that if you're lighting the fire, okay, and at the same time if you're pouring water, then the fire is not going to light. Okay. So why does Rupa Goswami say that the urges are to be tolerated, the 6 defects are to be avoided? These are active participation in helping our devotional life. One can technically say that I will keep on chanting, I will not worry about the urges, I will not worry about the 6 defects, I will just keep on chanting. Okay? The answer which Rupa Goswami gives is there in the last paragraph of the last page of the first shloka, which we discussed. Matirna Krishne Paratah Sotova. That one has no chance of becoming Krishna conscious, neither by his personal endeavor, nor by instruction from others, nor by joint conferences, if one is fixed in sense gratification. Okay? So there should be a positive endeavor always from our side to show that we are open to receive the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Okay? This is what our endeavor is. It's not our endeavor is not to advance in Krishna consciousness, because advancement in Krishna consciousness will come by mercy. But our endeavor, our attitude is that we want to show that we are open to receiving that mercy. And these defects and these different aspects, they simply give a wrong signal out to the Vaishnavas. They give this signal that we are not open to receive the mercy. Make sense? Okay? The right type of laulyam. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita matihi kritiyatham yadi kuto api labhyate tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam janma koti sukrudayarna labhyate. this very beautiful verse from Ramananda Rai. That pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, that is intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. Okay? So, one should be greedy for Krishna consciousness. If one is greedy for something else, then one is into too much trouble. Okay? We are going to close the class with some nice encouraging words from Srila Prabhupada. So, Prabhu, you can read.
So this is a simple process. You don't waste your time by talking nonsense. Therefore, Guru goes on as advised, Atyana Prayasa Chakrajarko, Niyamakaha Sajarpa. Our devotional life can be finished, means may be perfect. Those who are in devotional life, Krishna consciousness, they are fortunate. This fortune can be proved by 6 things. Be careful.
Srila Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanande Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasinubhyascha Patitanam Paramaham Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha.
Tomorrow's class will be here only.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Tomorrow 10 to 12:30 here only.
Yeah, okay.
Tomorrow 10 to 12:30 here only.
Okay, please read verse 3 and come. Yeah.
Next time.
Only verse 3 or 4 also.
You can read 4 also, but verse, mostly we'll deal with verse 3.
What time, Prabhu?
Verse 10 to 12:30.
Here only?
10 to 12:30. आपको जल्दी उठना पड़ेगा.
2 बजे उठो. अभी सो जाओ.